The forests of eastern Ukraine always hold tension between each tree trunk. Under the cover of dry trees and thick ground fog, their dirt roads have become death lanes, where every whirring of propellers can mean the difference between life and death. On that day, FPV drone operators from the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade lurked silently over the Pokrovsk forest. From their control screens, every shadow below seemed like a piece in a vast puzzle of a never-ending war. Then they saw it. 2 Russian trucks that had just pulled up on a narrow dirt road, apparently carrying some invading infantry. In a clearing, flanked by the dark trees where the first truck had stopped, the FPV drone's camera showed several Russian soldiers hastily dismounting, some leaning against the side of the road, as if trying to gauge the situation. From a distance of several hundred meters, the FPV drone zoomed by, its sharp, piercing sound like the buzz of a bloodthirsty wasp. In those seconds, with only a few dozen meters left, the Russian soldiers began to realize the danger. They turned, ran, jumped from their vehicles, but their time was up. The first explosion shook the ground, hitting the front of the vehicle with deadly precision. Below, bodies of those trying to escape lay motionless on the forest road. Shortly afterward, a second signal appeared on the airborne radar. Another pickup truck, a similar model, was spotted several kilometers away. The FPV operators from the 30th Brigade didn't hesitate. A latest generation FPV drone, loaded with explosives, controlled by experts with dozens of kills under their belts. The onboard camera showed the Russian vehicle coming to a stop, seemingly oblivious to the eyes of death lurking in the distance. Within seconds, the drone swooped low, approaching from the front. The Russian infantrymen in the pickup truck panicked, jumping out and running to the side of the road, trying to hide behind a tree trunk. But their efforts were futile. In the hunt, the Ukrainian operator remained focused, with steady maneuvers. The FPV drone penetrated the tree line and struck directly in front of the truck's cabin. A second explosion shattered the silence of the forest, creating a fireball that sent dust and dry leaves into the air. Its vibrations felt even by the surveillance drones filming from above. After both attacks, the forest road was reduced to a field of rubble. 2 enemy vehicles completely destroyed, metal twisted, cabins burned, and wheel tracks covered in ash and metal fragments. The operators of the 30th Brigade didn't cheer. They simply stared at their screens, making sure each target was still. From the Zaporizhia direction, Russia's elite VDV paratroopers faced annihilation near Orikhiv after 22 of 26 assault vehicles were destroyed in a single day. As survivors attempted to surrender, their own command turned drones on them, with footage showing Russian kamikaze drones ignoring Ukrainian soldiers to strike surrendering Russian troops instead. Here, a failed attack exposed the true state of Russian units, with elite VDV branding not being able to mask inadequate planning and logistics. As Russian paratroopers saw what awaited them with such a plan, many decided just to surrender to avoid a certain death, only to immediately become priority targets for their own drone units that received the command to chase and eliminate all deserters. Russian VDV forces were redeployed to the Zaporizhia front to pin Ukrainian defenses in Zaporizhia as part of a combined operation. The hope was that this would split Ukrainian attention in the south, while another operational grouping would try to outflank Ukraine's defense lines from the east and force penetration into the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Russian push towards Orikhiv consisted of a multi-wave assault against Mala Tokmachka, aiming to punch through and consolidate the area. Geolocated footage shows Russian forces advancing with 26 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles over the course of the day. But despite their efforts, 22 of them were destroyed by the Ukrainians by nightfall. Most of the soldiers were also eliminated, with survivors left abandoned by their own command as a target for the Ukrainian drones clearing the fields. Many Russians joined the VDV forces believing they would be treated as elite warriors, trained, equipped, and celebrated. The reality is far more different from what was portrayed. Paratroopers were thrown into the meat grinder in sequential waves, watching comrades engulfed by explosions as their own turn soon approached. Rather than a coordinated, overwhelming thrust, units were fed into attritional assaults by only several vehicles at a time, with little hope of success and zero plans to evacuate potential survivors. The psychological effect was catastrophic for the VDV recruits, as elite status evaporated into a sense of being expendable. Faced with annihilation, a growing number of Russian soldiers chose surrender over certain death. A video from this direction shows a Russian paratrooper walking out of ruined positions to lay down arms, guided toward Ukrainian rear areas by 2 Ukrainian soldiers who accepted his surrender and took him as a prisoner of war. This possibility gave the Russian soldier a rational survival choice, if only he had not been spotted by his own comrades. Soon after, 2 Russian FPV drones attacked the group, shockingly ignoring the Ukrainians but focusing on the Russian soldier who had surrendered, with the only goal to punish their own for choosing to live. This ruthless Russian field response is intended to deter deserters by a brutal order. When Russian reconnaissance identifies their own troops moving to surrender, Russian FPV drones and artillery units are ready to act and strike the surrendering soldiers. Footage from Stepnohirsk shows another VDV soldier holding his arms up in surrender, but then quickly turning around and pleading with the approaching Russian kamikaze drone trying to kill him, to no avail. The 2 videos filmed and published right after the major Russian assault show that these are not isolated battlefield incidents, but part of a growing set of evidence that such punitive measures have been adopted by the Russian officers to prevent mass capitulation. If the Russian command allows surrenders, discipline will collapse further. Desertion and refusal will spread, leading to uncontrollable manpower losses. To prevent this, the officers try to re-establish deterrence through public and private punishment, but at a steep cost. Ordered executions of surrendering soldiers may slow the spread of capitulation, but they also confirm to recruits that the officers care little for their survival. Potential volunteers or contract recruits watching these developments are also less likely to sign up, creating longer-term recruitment and readiness problems for an army already strained by huge losses. Overall, what began as a plan to use VDV as a fix for a stalled offensive has become a symbol of the systemic problems